Welcome to the Beauties podcast, where we talk about everything you need to know about women's sports. From the grassroots to the pros, we got it all. Today on the show, we talk with Bailey DOERKSEN on her signing with the UBC Thunderbirds at the tip-off to the WNBA season and the Challenge Cup final. Here are your hosts, Addie and Cowie.
Welcome, everybody, to the Beauties Sports Desk. We have so much to get into because I feel like as we move into, the end of the Challenge Cup, the tip-off for the WNBA, so much stuff is going on in the PHF. There's just so many storylines to talk about today, and we got a cool interview too. But first off, how you doing, Cowie?
I am alive and well. Some days I wouldn't say those words together. I'm alive. I'm not well. Today I am alive and well. And yeah, you're not wrong in the fact that there is always lots to talk about. Even when it feels like some of the leagues are in a lull, we're kind of in the off season of some of the hockey stuff, doesn't leave a shortage of news.
No, and it's cool because now we're going to get to see the PHF from a different perspective, where they're being very vocal on social media, on signings and movement. And, they've brought on some more people. And I just feel like they are really putting a good foot forward to make sure that people don't forget about, what's happening with the PHF and that they are still
working.
They're working. Mm-hmm. And two big things that stuck out to me. There's been a lot, like Toronto signing players again, and MGM decided to move on from there. Mm-hmm. That's a big one for me, for her to leave that team and that organization, especially with how successful she was last year with the Six.
Last 2 years with the Six.
Yeah, that's a good point. But then leaving to sign the largest contract to date with the Buffalo Beauties.
That's got to be part of the motivation, you'd think. Set the stage, right? We've talked about that in other sports.
Yeah. Where
women go to set the stage for other women.
Well,
maybe that's part of it.
I would say. And obviously when you think about a lot of the conversations that we had about Becky Hammon, mm-hmm. when she went from the NBA to the WNBA, that was a big part of the conversation, that it was known that she was making north of $1 million. Mm-hmm. And it's like, let's go, mm-hmm. Sign the checks. Let's get moving here. Right. So for Michaela Grant-Mendez to go to Buffalo next season and sign an $80,000 contract, mm-hmm. That's
it's significant. Let's just say that. It's significant.
Yeah,
it is. There's always, for me, a lot of questions around the PHF. We've seen lots of news mm-hmm. coming out of there. One thing, this is very random. One thing I would like to see the PHF do is rebrand their Instagram page, because it's always a mind boggle to me when it still comes up as nwhl.zone.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't understand that either. I don't think PHF is taken.
I'm going to suggest probably not.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure why that is.
I don't either. I don't know. But they've done so much work in their rebrand to change the look, feel, identity of that league. Mm-hmm. And then hanging on to the old news.
Yeah.
With their IG handle. Strange.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and I wonder if, because obviously the third commissioner in league history, Regan Carey, was also named. Mm-hmm. And that was a big one with her coming on now. She brings a ton of experience. So mm-hmm. I think that was a really smart move by the PHF. And I would assume that that's one of the things she's going to bring up is like, let's tighten up. Let's tighten this up a bit. When it comes to the social media presence, because of how important it is.
Well, that's where I would say that is where I seek PHF news.
Yeah.
Is through Instagram.
Yeah, totally. So, yeah, Regan Carey was named the third commissioner of the PHF. And the first hire after that is the one, the only Melody Davidson.
That was a shocker.
That was a big one.
That's a shocker. Question, we've talked about this. There's a lot of questions that brings up for us. We obviously are not living within the PWHPA, But for Mel Davidson to basically, a lot of the women in the PWHPA will feel like they've grown up with Mel. And to be trying to build and grow what they're trying to do and accomplish with the PWHPA, and then to have her move over into the PHF, that probably stings in some capacity. So there's a lot of questions. We'll see what they achieve with that. There's still obviously a lot of more formal news that we're waiting to hear from the PWHPA.
Yeah.
Right. We saw the conversation started with Jeff Merrick about a league starting next January of 2023. But after that tweet, it was essentially silence. It's not like the PWHPA came out and said confirmed.
Right. Yeah, I guess that's valid. We all just kind of
took it for what it was, because Jeff Merrick is very rarely wrong from our experiences.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, we really haven't seen any kind of formal news from the PWHPA.
Yeah, great point, because you're right. We just took it as gospel and essentially are sitting here waiting.
Yeah, probably should have took it as gossip, but we took it as gospel.
That's right. So that's very interesting. But the Mel Davidson thing, just to go back to it, for me, it was very strange. From a perspective of experience and understanding how leagues work at an incredibly high level, you can't really get anybody more experienced than May Davidson. But when you get into the personal side of what she has been a part of and what those women that were part of the national team for so many years are fighting for currently, this is very strange to me. So I'm interested to see where this whole thing goes, and I will definitely be watching Melody Davidson's first press conference.
Yes.
In the Premier Hockey Federation.
Yep. Same. Let's just call her with that.
Yeah. Yep. And that's about that. And even with the WNBA starting, we just got League Pass this year. We're going to go all in.
Yeah.
We're going to watch every single game. And I'm going to give them this much. I have literally watched more WNBA than ever before because of the quality of the League Pass that they put out to people. It is mind-blowing to me that people are not getting that more. Yeah,
so what Addie's referring to is the WNBA has given fans an opportunity for a whopping $24.99 for the year, correct?
Yeah, we're in Canada, so it came out to a wild 31.
Yeah, 31 bones in Canada after your 30% conversion from USD to CAD. The ability to not only watch on one computer, because we have tested this, not that we're too cheap to buy two $30 passes, we would have.
Yeah, legit.
But we can watch it at the same time. The stream on the computer is as professional and as clear as it ever could be. All of the past games are archived. So if you do not have PVR, you don't need one.
Yeah.
Because you can watch every minute of the WNBA via their $24.99, $31 in Canada League Pass.
It's unbelievable. And they call it the runbacks. And that's what makes it so amazing, because as the big Chicago Sky fan as I am, being able to watch their first game, but not being able to, because of working, be able to be there. I watched the whole thing start to finish. It was incredible quality. And I am just jacked for this year. But with that being said, two huge storylines that keep coming up are obviously Sue Bird and Sylvia Fowles. This is their final kick at the can. They've said it time and time and time again. So it almost puts this emotion into it, which you get a lot of times in really established male sports, which made me super happy. Like when I'm trying to think of a good example here of when somebody said, this is it for me.
Well, we've seen it in hockey. Ryan Getzlaf in all of his final games
perfect example.
Hugging people on the opposing team at every one of those last games.
Yeah.
As he exited, because he's been a staple within the NHL. He's been on our Olympic team. He's won gold medals. He has been an elite class within the NHL. And you're right. You now get that same feel in the WNBA.
And, everywhere, even with like Sylvia Fowles, now it's all about her career and what she's established. This woman is an absolute beauty. And I feel like they're doing a really good job at like representing her career, and it's going to happen with Bonner and these women, Parker. It's going to happen with these women that are like, you know what, they're doing it the right way. They're starting to really have that culture and respect around these women that have been in the league for what's coming up like almost 15 years.
Did you see the I think it was on Instagram that I saw, it might have been a tweet that Diana Taurasi put out about Sue Bird, how in their last game last year they exchanged jerseys, and they're best friends, right? They're you know, they can banter like Addie and I can banter.
Yeah.
And Diana Taurasi puts out this tweet that says, I thought I had the last Sue Bird like game worn jersey, and now I'm washing my car with it, Sue.
Yeah. That's unreal.
I died.
That's unreal.
I was like, well played. Well played. Let's round of applause for that. That's so good.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
But it just shows the camaraderie and the actual depth of what that league has when it comes to stories, and like people have dedicated their lives to the W.
Yeah, you know, the only interesting part that you and I have discussed since following the WNBA draft is that what the WNBA is missing is I guess two things here. It could be bigger. There could be teams, which we've heard rumblings of, you know, expansion teams.
Right.
And they could have a better support cast than just NCAA, because we got through the draft and like Las Vegas was a good example. Takes a player in the eighth overall in the first round and then lets her go.
Yeah. And that was one of the ones we talked about a ton, Hollingham, right? We talked about her a ton. Hollingshed. Just made up a name. Hollingham.
It's probably a thing somewhere.
Yeah. Somebody's name somewhere.
For sure it is.
For sure.
Guess what their grandpa did? Hauled ham.
Unbelievable. Just fucking making shit up. But like, and we talked about that one a ton because like there was that video of it being like, Becky, you got your girl.
Yeah.
And then like a week later it was like, see ya. What?
I know. And that really then it does, right? It's like, okay, so these women come out of NCAA. They're clearly this close to being within the WNBA. But we have a culture within the WNBA that these women who are in there and established are sticking around for, 10, 12-year careers.
Yeah.
And so there's just not enough room. The league isn't big enough. There's not enough room, and there isn't a feeder league.
Yeah.
They go overseas, or they're still in their NCAA careers. And so that's the only thing to me that is missing that would add depth to the WNBA is a support league.
I totally agree. And when you think of everything going on with Brittany Griner right now, like you wonder about what is actually going to happen to the European leagues. Like that is a real conversation that is happening. And that could be, if you look at it a certain way, an incredible opportunity for the W to really go after, investors and different organizations to be like, we need to keep these women here. Yeah. How we keep them here? Money.
Yep.
We need to start paying them so they don't feel like they have to go overseas. And, that is a very real conversation that's happening right now. No question. And even the rookies that were drafted this year, we're seeing huge things. Ryan Howard goes into her first game and just dominates.
Yep.
And I had a little bit of like, I had a smile on my face the other day because I was fangirling so hard over Destiny Anderson. Yeah. And we both know that I said she was going to go top 5 and I was a hard top 5 and she went not top 5. But
yeah, not top 5.
Not top 5. But they did say that like the teams that didn't take her are regretting it, right? Like you had the opportunity to take her. She went in the second round and is already being a force on Indiana Fever. Like I was like, okay, I wasn't that far off. It People are starting to validate it.
You know, I will give you credit because when you fangirl, you fangirl.
Oh yeah.
We're not joking around. It's not like I kind of like her. It's like I'm all in. Addie texts me. WNBA started last Friday. And Addie texts me and she says, I'm watching the Sky game. And I text back and said, of course you are, bud.
P.S. Courtney's playing great.
Yeah, who else would you choose to watch first? When you fangirl hard. I do think, though, someone like Destiny Henderson, that's going to put fire in your belly. You're invited to the WNBA draft and you don't go in the first round.
Agreed.
Right? And sometimes you need that. We've talked about that in past episodes. You talked about it in our last episode. Just about the pain of having expectations and those expectations being lost. And that's one, I think, for Destiny Henderson that, you know, people are now saying, okay, we see it wasn't a one-off. That finals wasn't a one-off.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. She is making her name known on the Fever and she wants to play. Mm-hmm. She wants to play. So I thought that was pretty cool and good for her. Good for her, man. So I think we're going to see a huge season out of the Indiana Fever, to be honest with you. I think that this is going to be a big year for them. They haven't won yet, but
yeah, but I think
don't matter. Yeah, don't matter.
This sounds bad, but they couldn't get worse.
Valid.
Well, they could. I guess. I mean, like they couldn't really get worse. Yeah. And when you bring in the level of talent that they brought in from the NCAA, who are going to have the level of enthusiasm that they're going to have to be playing professional basketball, it's only going to get better.
Right. Yeah. No, I totally agree. And the picks that they got, they're going to have a huge year. Same with the Sky.
Yeah, so maybe next week you'll watch the Sky game before or after the Fever game. Let's look on the calendar when they play, because that one you're going to for sure tune in.
I'm going to be dialed in on that one. We can just run it back if we need to.
But true enough.
So let's bet a case of beer on this.
Okay. I say okay before I even know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, cool.
Oh man.
So there's conversations about 2 expansion teams in the WNBA. Yeah. Right? We are both very certain one will be in Toronto. We're both on the same page on that.
I know your next question. Where's the next one going to be?
Where do you think the next one's going to be?
I already know your answer.
Mine's like locked and loaded there.
I know your answer. You've said it in a few episodes ago. Yeah. That's Denver.
Yeah.
Which I haven't come up with a better answer than Denver. Maybe they could both be Canadian clubs.
Oh, go a little Van City.
Yeah. Split coast to coast.
There you go.
Although, there are times where I'm like, man, I get it. We got to put fans in it, or we got to put a team in a place where there's fans. But we also are putting a team in the place where now we're splitting the same fan base 14 ways because it's the only place we put teams.
Yeah, no, totally. And we could go on a huge conversation about that too, with just the success of junior teams that go into smaller locations and become the absolute rock stars of those towns. Oh yeah, we could go down a whole conversation just on that, because you think about like even the one thing I do find interesting is like Las Vegas doesn't have a men's team. It just has a women's team.
Yeah, good point.
And their arena was friggin' rocking last night. Was unreal against Seattle, obviously.
So maybe we won't bet a case of beer because I don't have a better answer. But we'll drink a case of beer together when it's in Toronto for sure, because we're both betting on that.
Oh, okay. Deal. Well, this worked out. We're drinking.
I would bet you, but I don't have a better. Like, what's the next best answer?
Yeah,
there isn't one. Denver would be great.
Denver would be great. To me,
a great place.
I just like as soon as like that Twitter feed was happening, there's a couple places that people said that I was like, oh yeah, that'd be cool.
Like where?
But Denver is a cool location. People like going to Colorado.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, go to Denver, make some sick, unreal vintage style Nugget jerseys and just live life in Colorado.
Oh yeah, but what would they be called if they weren't the Nuggets?
Oh God. We'll figure that out when we drink the beer.
Yeah, well, yeah, good point. Yeah, all our best ideas come after at least one beer.
You betcha. So, yeah, so expansion teams, we're thinking Toronto and Denver, which are two very solid guesses.
Toronto, you couldn't deny when the Raptors GM, Masai Ujiri, was on his press conference and made a comment about it, and then the press asked him, and then he just kind of sheepishly, I was like, oh, what? So tell.
You coming to Canada.
So.
That would be amazing. Also, well, talking about expansion teams, when we moved to the NWSL, with the beginning of the season starting, top of the leaderboard, San Diego Wave, baby, 2-0, start the season pretty damn good.
We talked about that, remember, early on in the Challenge Cup, when we said you wonder what's going to happen when you get through the Challenge Cup, and what do how seriously, or what, that's not the right word, what kind of weight do programs or organizations put on the Challenge Cup?
Right.
And you could argue now, going into the start of the regular season, that the likes of San Diego Wave very much used that to understand their players and play around with their roster.
Used it flawlessly, in the sense of, you've got your studs like Alex Morgan, who are going to be like your...
She had 4 goals.
Like, unbelievable. And you latch on to what her leadership's going to be like, what, how the team reacts to certain different things. And you use that time, because really they were in a win-win situation. They're a new franchise. They've got zero pressure on them. Like, from a fan perspective, internally, they probably were putting pressure on each other to be successful right off the bat, like any organization would.
To lose.
Right?
Yeah.
So, but in the same token, coming out with a really good start is, it's unreal.
Yeah, I agree.
It is unreal. And so the Challenge Cup ended on May 4th with the Courage taking it 2-1 over Washington Spirit, who won the whole damn thing last year too.
Yeah, so that's a big W for them. I'll be honest, I was kind of cheering for Washington. Trinity Rodman to me has just been an absolute stud.
Yeah.
To start off the year, and she's hard not to cheer for.
Yeah.
I would say Kelly O'Hara. Yeah, but I'm not. It is what it is. The Challenge Cup is just a nice little. It's like the sip before your drink.
Yeah. Oh, what a reference.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, totally. So with the standings as it sits right now, San Diego at the top, Kansas City sitting at the bottom, and Louisville, OL Reign, and North Carolina, only ones to not, alongside Kansas City, to not have a win. Everybody else has a win under their belt. So pretty competitive, even start.
Yeah, season is very young.
Yeah, so this is, I enjoy the Challenge Cup, especially with the format change that they had to make with the different divisions now. I really enjoyed that shake up, and I think that San Diego used their time wisely. During that. So as we move into what is, what we perceive from what we've seen, a future NWSL player, we've got an interview with Bailey DOERKSEN. And I'm excited to talk to her because she just signed with UBC. Huge commit for them. Huge commit. She's staying close to home. And so I think it's going to be really great to talk to her, not only about, the NWSL Challenge Cup, get her views and her points on all this kind of stuff, but also her journey through soccer and how she started and, where she feels her career is going.
Yep, couldn't agree more. It seems like we have a little bit of favoritism towards UBC, and we really don't. First, we had UBC commit for the fall of 2022 in basketball with Amelia Bandman, and now we're going to talk to Bailey DOERKSEN, who is not going to start her U Sports career until 2023. Mm-hmm. So got some time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a really exciting. We've had a lot of conversations around U Sports and the job that the NCAA does in the USA to really promote their athletes. And I love to see, so Bailey is one of our elite Canadian soccer players, up and coming soccer players. And it's really exciting to me to see her stay home.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, and I can't wait to pick her brain on the process and why she chose to, do what she did and stay where she is. And I think it's going to be a very insightful interview with an incredible athlete.
Couldn't agree more. So everybody, we hope you enjoy our time with Bailey DOERKSEN.
Welcome to the Beauties Sports Desk. We are so excited to have you here with us today, Bailey. I feel like we have so much to talk to you about, where you're playing now, the exciting news of where you're going. But really, we want to start this whole conversation from kind of where it all started for you, almost in grassroots. Like, where did you start playing soccer, and kind of when did you know that this is something you wanted to be competitive in?
Yeah, so I actually started playing soccer, I think when I was about 6, and I was kind of just doing it. Actually, my kindergarten teacher said I was too competitive to not be in sports as a 6-year-old. So that's honestly big thanks to Mrs. MacArthur in my grade 6 class.
Hey, shout out Mrs. MacArthur.
So, he was kind of the one that actually talked to my parents and was just like, oh, we need to get her into sports. So my parents actually decided that soccer might be a good choice for me to start off at. So I started playing out of a local club, Langley FC, Langley Football Club, just in my area, just to get it started, and then kind of started from there and enjoyed it because I played with some of my friends and stuff, some that I'm still actually friends with now, which is kind of cool. So
very cool.
So that's kind of where it all began a bit. Yeah.
Amazing. And so Addie and I, obviously we both played hockey, and that was kind of the thing that we fell in love with when we were kids. If you start when you're 6, was it a pretty immediate response from you, or was there a time, or a team that you played on growing up where you felt that kind of shift from this is fun, this is me hanging out with my friends, to this is something I truly love and want to pursue?
Yeah, definitely. I kind of grew up playing with the same group of mixed girls because we were kind of on I guess you could say the prospect team of our age group. So it would kind of be the higher level from the Div 1 or the Gold League, whatever they kind of had at the time. So I kind of grew up playing with the same rotation of 2 different sets of teams. And I grew up being just as competitive as my teachers all thought. So it kind of was, I took it very seriously at a young age. I think sometimes my willingness to win kind of honestly took away from the fun of it when I was a kid, even because I was if I didn't feel like I had a good game, it would haunt me for the rest of the week, and my parents would be like, what is going on? If this is supposed to be a fun thing. I was no, I would be oh, I'm gonna be on the national team one day. I was focused as a 10-year-old, and I was I'm gonna get there one day. And honestly, I don't know if I regret being like that, but because I feel without it, I definitely wouldn't have been as determined to get to the place I was now. Totally. But I feel I maybe could have enjoyed it more as a little kid, but definitely not complaining how it went. Obviously.
Yeah, for sure. And you can always look back and so many stories of being competitive. And I always found that the most competitive times in my playing career were actually the most fun. Yeah. And when I found those people that surrounded myself with that matched that competitive nature, it was okay.
Yeah, we say it lots. Addie and I say it all the time to each other. There's a reason we hang out, we bet, and it's things are competitive in our in our lives that have no necessity of being competitive. And it's when it's in your soul, right? It's impossible to get rid of it. And I think we can all look back in hindsight of our lives and be like, oh man, probably should have chilled out there.
Yeah.
But I also think an incredible amount of insight that you already have as to, that in you, that innate competitive nature within you, and how that's really propelled you to where you are. I think that's incredibly insightful you're still young.
Yeah, that's true. Lots of time still.
Very true. And so we are going to get into, you mentioned before we went on air, you're a part of Team BC as well. But have you always been a midfielder? Like, I know there's some people that kind of try different positions. Has that always been something that's like, no, this is my position on the field?
Yeah, a little bit. I've always kind of been more of an attacking player. Like, I never really had like the dramatic shift from defense all the way to striker kind of thing. Like, I never really changed like that much. But I think I used to kind of be more of like a winger or like a striker, but now I kind of have switched more into like over the past like 2-3 years. I've been like, since I got into like a higher level of soccer, it's been more of like a attacking mid kind of more idea.
And do you feel like there's any specific reason for that? Is that just where you naturally fell?
I feel like honestly, once I started playing in like the BCSPL league, I started like becoming more of like a playmaker. I started realizing that my kind of like drive to want to always attack and score wasn't at the time kind of my skill set. So I think my coach noticed that and said, oh, maybe this might be something maybe better to not, because I know attacking mid isn't necessarily defensive, but you're not always looking to go to the net. So I think that was kind of where that kind of started. I was like, yeah.
Totally makes sense, because you think about playing, everybody always thinks about striker, scoring, goals, all that kind of stuff. When you can step back and go, I actually really like watching the play develop around me. I want to be a part of the playmaking decisions as we head upfield. I think that's, I love a good, strong midfielder. I think changes the dynamic of an entire soccer team.
Yeah, oh, for sure. Having like a good, like 3 girls in the middle and just having that good connection in the middle is really good.
Absolutely. So let's talk about FTF a little bit. For the people that maybe don't know exactly what that is, could you just kind of explain to everybody that program?
Yeah, so FTF, or like First Touch Football, is just basically an organization that helps you connect to like after your youth soccer like years, and you can start getting connected with colleges. They give you a bit of exposure, whether that be through like connecting just with your team or going to individual ones, which is what I did. I went to an individual one in Vancouver last summer, which it then progressed from there throughout the summer to other different showcases. But they provide you with video service, all that kind of stuff, and you can get exposure from coaches that watch or online, and you can get connected with emails. So basically just a big recruiting service that can help you.
What an amazing resource. I think, we're uncovering a lot of things in this journey, Addie and I think I love that we get the opportunity to talk to you about it, because I'm sure there's a lot of people who will find it impactful to know that FTF exists. You're not just a small deal when it comes to FTF, though. You're one of the elites of FTF, right? Pump your own tires a little bit, because we just did it for you.
Well, I guess you could say that if you're going.
Sorry to make you uncomfortable.
Oh.
The humble laugh smile always comes out.
Exactly,
Absolutely.
Exactly.
So with that, which I completely agree, it's incredible. The more exposure we get for female athletes in any sport, the better. So they do a phenomenal job there. But now, just talking about Team BC, what was that process like for you being selected for that program?
Yeah, so it was basically, I've only been on the team for just over a year, so I haven't really been on the team for that long, technically. But when I first got into the BCSPL program, they'd have like tryout games. So they had them right at the beginning, and then the first group of girls would get selected. And for a bit, I wasn't getting selected onto those like tryout teams, I think first year. And there was a few girls on my team that were on it. And I was like, oh, that makes me so mad. I was like, they totally deserve it, but I want to be there too. Like, I want to be on that extra team, you know? And so, and then I think after the second year, I started getting invited to some games. So I had like a few coaches putting my name in, and I started getting invited to some of the tryout games. And I went to a few, and I still didn't get selected to those. And then it was like the fall season of like 2020, where the head coach came out and watched some of my games, and I guess that changed a few things for him about what he thought, and I got invited to the team of April of 2021. So
very cool. We talked to you before we hit record today, and I do want to share this because I think this is an important thing that you fed us before we started recording.
Yeah.
You were at part of your Team BC events today, a team meeting. Can you just fill us in on what you were doing at your team meeting today?
Okay, yeah. We were just basically going over a little bit of a somewhat like, not personality test, but it was just a test to kind of determine, based off of a series of questions, to determine kind of what our, what differences our teammates have in areas of like competitiveness or building relationships or responding to coachings, that kind of stuff. And we just kind of went over it to see how we compared and contrasted with other players and the coaches as well, to see what we all can change and adjust to one another to like build like a stronger, higher performing team kind of thing.
I love it. Yeah.
You know what I want to do for Team BC right now?
A round of applause.
That is the greatest thing I have. Yeah. Because not only are you learning from a player perspective, you're learning from a player coach perspective and coach player perspective.
I think we've been a part of a lot of competitive teams in our lives, and I can tell you what, I've never done it once.
Yeah, that is kudos to Team BC, because we talk a lot about, strong, competitive female athletes, and this is a big part of it, creating that respect and that connection within one another. And for you to be experiencing that before you even get to university,
it's huge.
That is huge.
Huge.
Yeah.
That's great. So when is your next competition with Team BC?
Yeah, so basically we play like a series of like games against the Whitecaps group of girls of our age group. We do but since it's like a bigger team, so we have to like select a roster of 18. So it's kind of like pushes you through practice to kind of get selected onto that roster. But we only train together once a week, so it kind of depends. But yeah, so we kind of have that. And then this team building stuff is basically building towards the possible selection to the Canada Games team.
Right.
Totally.
Yeah.
Amazing.
But that will be mixed with some of the Whitecaps girls as well. So you're not really sure what's going to come of that. But,
right. Yeah. Still in the process of the whole thing. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, that's exactly. Amazing. I love that stuff. I love anything where it's competing for, to be able to represent your province. I love that stuff. It's
I think this is a really unique, speaking for us from hockey experience, this soccer experience that you're explaining is extremely unique from our experiences through a provincial program. It's a lot longer.
Yeah.
And I would say that there are some lessons that a lot of people or a lot of organizations or a lot of other sports, I think, could learn from the way that your province's teams are treating soccer, which I think is super cool. Yeah.
No, that's a very, very good point. Instead of it being short-term competition selection periods, it's a longer.
Yeah. It's like a 2-year, 3-year process.
Very cool. Very cool. So obviously now moving on, and you have committed to UBC for 2023. Yes. Congratulations. That is absolutely amazing. So let's walk through that whole process, from the standpoint of meeting the team, going, like, how did that selection from your standpoint happen? What made you become a Thunderbird?
Yeah, basically I've known the head coach, Jesse Simons, for quite a while. I started going to some of the, I went to like a winter camp, somewhat of an ID camp, and then we started connecting from there, and he came out and watched some of my games earlier, and then I was like, wow, this guy's a great guy, he's awesome. And so I continued to kind of pursue and keep coming back to camps and stuff in the summer. And then I went to one of the camps in the summer and met some of the girls on the team, and I was like, wow, this environment is amazing. And I was like, in the school, holy, it's awesome, it's so beautiful. And I was thinking about it, and I was like this is definitely one of the places I could see spending 4 or 5 years at. So it just, you kind of had that feeling of it clicking with you, that you could kind of feel the attachment there. And yeah, and I think after the whole FTF thing in the summer and looking around at other things, I didn't really have that kind of a connection with the players and coaches in school as much as I did to other places. And then, yeah, kind of went from there over the next months after that. Just took a while to decide.
Oh, for sure.
That's okay. Yeah. I would say that I think it's the right amount of time. The amount you took is the right amount of time, because it has to feel right, and you have to weigh all of your options, and you have to make sure that it is the right fit for you. One question I guess I have for you in your decision of UBC, was there anything before UBC? I know you said you had a relationship with the UBC coach. As a kid growing up with this love of soccer, was there a place when you were, 10-year-old Bailey or 12-year-old Bailey or 13-year-old Bailey that you're like, I think I want to go there?
Yeah, even if it seemed somewhat unreachable.
Yeah, what was that for you?
Yeah, I always of course, as a kid, you always look at, especially since back then, it was more of US soccer was way more prominent, especially because it's developing now, but it was way more prominent. So I always kind of look at I'm going to go to a D1 school and kind of go from there. So I was always yes, California is the place. It's warm. Yeah. There's Disneyland there. It's perfect. So
it's got everything I need.
Everything. Got the ocean. So I was just kind of as a 10-year-old, 12-year-old, I was like, yes, that is the place I need to go. So it was always kind of UCLA was that was the school. But looking at it now, I kind of had to be kind of more looking at places that I think would maybe fit me more, because thinking back, there was a lot of talent in the States, and with that high level of school, I have to be realistic of whether I want to play with that kind of stuff. So I just kind of had to weigh out my options, and I just thought about it, and I was like, I really would want to stay local. I love this team, I love the school, and it just kind of clicked from there. So amazing. It was awesome.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point, because I was going to bring up does the States ever come into your mind? Because anybody in Canada always kind of thinks about the States when they think about sports at some point too. And for us, when we were talking to Mia Badman, who signed on the Thunderbirds basketball team, she's obviously I go to campus and it's beautiful there because we're from Manitoba. You live in BC.
Yeah, exactly.
You see the mountains way more, but it doesn't mean you want to leave them.
The sun.
The sun.
Grass.
That's true.
We see snow.
Yeah, I have family in Manitoba, so.
Oh, whereabouts?
Steinbach.
Oh yeah, not far from the city. Okay. Well,
yeah.
shout out to the Steinbach fam.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
That's amazing. So, what are a couple of things do you think about when now you've signed as an athlete? What do you attribute to that? Whether it's physical performance or mental prep or whatever. Is there something that kind of stands out to you where you made that shift to be I am now going to be performing as a university athlete?
Yeah, definitely. I've definitely been thinking about kind of a lot of the mental performance stuff, because I think for me that's been a bit of an adjustment over performing extremely well now that I'm committed, that I need to be exceeding expectations with that kind of stuff. And I feel like I put a little bit too much pressure on myself at first, so that kind of hindered my performance a little bit. So I feel like that's something I need to focus on, and getting like just building off of everything, and working with some of the coaches and strength coaches with the university, just to see how I can adjust to kind of like that university life, is something that I'll definitely focus over like the next couple months in the summer, like just building like that kind of like physical strength and mental strength to start pushing on from there to adjust to it. So
it's so exciting.
I know. I'm excited for you, Bailey. I think,
thank you.
University is for me was one of the most fun times. I think Addie would say the same. You get to experience life. You grow a ton, but as a student athlete, there's something super rewarding about having this culture and continuing to be competitive. And so I know Addie and I are really, really excited. We said the same thing to Mia when we had her on the show, who's going to, be a student athlete buddy of yours, I hope, at UBC, that we're excited to get to watch you guys in your careers, because I love your Instagram. I'll say that. I love that we can watch highlights of Bailey on Instagram. And so I can't wait to continue to follow that when you get to UBC.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so obviously, Bailey, we are so appreciative of you coming on here. At the end of every episode, we like to give our interviewees a chance to, let us know where to watch you, where to keep up, your Instagram handle, where to
shout out your buddies.
Shout out, let's
it's your stage.
It's yours.
Well, Instagram is Bailey D Soccer. You can watch my highlights on there, and other photos and updates with my team and stuff. Obviously shout out to Team BC and Surrey United Soccer Club, that's where I'm playing out of right now. So we're doing really well this season, so we got to keep up the good. So yeah, not much else to say, but
awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, and we wish you nothing but the best in your career, and we are so excited to watch and follow you. And congrats once again on signing with UBC. Incredible.
This is only the first time you're on Beauty Sports, Bailey. We're going to have you back.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
You bet. Bailey is a certified beauty.
Put the stamp on it, baby.
She is, what is cool about that though, because we talk a lot about, the word compete and being competitive with women and stuff. I love how she just dove right into that.
Oh yeah. And recognizes in herself from like the beginning
of time.
I think I was too competitive and I could have had more fun. And it's like, that is incredible. That is incredible.
Self-awareness.
Incredible.
And the shout out to the teacher, your grade 6 teacher. Yeah. Let's go. Yeah. So
no, kindergarten teacher.
Was it kindergarten?
She was 6.
Oh, she was 6, not in grade 6. You're right.
Was 6. Like, to recognize that this kid is competitive and let's get her in sports because she needs to go and compete.
Yeah. You know what? And it is a conversation we have to have with younger athletes more. Like, she talks about it in a sense of like, I was really competitive and I should have had more fun. And that self-awareness is definitely going to do her well as she moves throughout her career. But even the conversation of like,
it's okay to be
it's okay.
Well, and the challenges, and lots of us have lived that, where when you are the competitive athlete in your group of friends, that's when you start to question if being competitive isn't the right thing, that you should just have more fun.
Yeah.
But then you see her flourish.
Yeah.
Because that innate competitive nature that she has now, when she's in Team BC and all of these elite level soccer programs, she's surrounded by the people that she, is now questioning if she should have been just doing it for fun when she was like, she's got a group that are like her.
Exactly. Surround yourself with like-minded people. And that's exactly what, as you go through sports. And that's what, my comment there was, that was when I was playing the most competitive is when I was having the most fun. And it's true, because as soon as I went to beer league, I couldn't handle it. I couldn't handle it.
I had to ditch the shoulder pads and be like, I was like, if I don't wear protection, I will try less hard.
Yeah.
And then it didn't take me long to get super out of shape and suck. Yeah.
Yeah, so Bailey, like we mentioned to you, we're so excited to continue and watch your career and encourage everybody to do the same, to get out in front of these incredible athletes and watch their careers as they go from like Team BC and then, well, any province or state or anything, and follow them through their careers.
Yeah, and a huge shout out to FTF, because
huge,
like Bailey said, they give you the access to they're the way she describes it is the way that I would think about women's hockey life in a lot of ways,
right,
from hockey perspective, but gives them access to the video content and things like that. Yeah, absolutely go follow Bailey if you are a soccer fan, and if you're not a soccer fan, because you're gonna want to be one of an up and coming athlete like Bailey.
Yeah,
her Instagram's so fun.
Yeah, it's the best.
It's because we say this, I say that, and it might sound a bit odd, but because it is so challenging to watch women's sports, to be able to follow an up and coming athlete with the ease that it is to follow someone like Bailey and get to watch her on a weekly basis with these little highlight reels.
Yeah, totally. It just allows for that more personal connection towards the athlete, which makes you more excited within the game. Like it hits and clicks all the boxes.
Absolutely.
Amazing. Well, that was a great interview. We will definitely be having Bailey back.
Absolutely. I can't wait.
Go Thunderbirds.
Yeah, go Thunderbirds.
Amazing. Well, Cowie, comes that time. Final words.
Final words. Thank you for those of you listening for coming back. If you are here for second or 26th episode, if this is your first episode, welcome to Beauty Sports. We're glad you're here. One thing that we do need to ask is that if you can, please go give us a like, subscribe, follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Beauty Sports Talk, on Twitter at _Beauty Sports. You can find our merch at beautysports.com. The best way to keep hyping us up is giving us a rate and review on the podcast itself. Buddy, I appreciate you every week. This one is no exception. Thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you all next week.